All right, we are live with Cody Prentice. You are the founder and owner of Elevate DDS. How are you, my friend?
Good, man. How you doing?
I'm doing really well. Really appreciate the time. Excited to dig into it. All things marketing, how you got started. I don't know a really good place to start, but I guess one thing I could say is congratulations on building such a cool agency and living in such a cool place as Whitefish. Do you mind giving a little origin story, how a guy from Chicago moves to Montana and gets an agency going? I mean, that's probably a cool story right there.
Yeah, well, I'd always loved the West. I went to school in Colorado, so go Buffs.
Go Buffs.
Was living in
Go Dion.
Chicago, yeah, and my fiance, I had had enough. I think it was like the rat race and everything, and came back home. I was working for a couple agencies downtown Chicago, and came back, and I was like, you know what, I got this business idea. I can start this, but I want to start it, and then I want to move. I want to get out of Chicago. And she said, okay, well, find us a spot, and kind of Googled around and found a town called Whitefish, Montana. This is about 8 or 9 years ago before it kind of blew up and got popular. And
Right.
yeah, kind of sold her on it. We moved on a whim for just like a 6 month lease. We've been here for 8 going on 9 years.
That's great. And
Yeah.
tell us about like the business idea. What was from, I don't know, germination seed to actual catalyst and growing this into what it is today? Do you mind telling that story?
Yeah, yeah, no, not at all. So I, I guess when I worked for a couple of these agencies in Chicago, it was doing SEO and different marketing work, and it was very hard to move the needle. I mean, with Fortune 500 clients, it's you have everything has to go through a legal compliance team and do all this stuff. And I had kind of freelanced a little bit of stuff on my own, and just realized that local clients were way easier to move the needle. I had a friend also at the time who was a chiropractor, and then they had started a chiropractic website and marketing company. And I think they recently sold. I don't think he owns it anymore, but at one point he called me up and he's like, "Man, you got to quit your job. You got to do this, and I can give you everything I'm doing. Just please don't pick chiropractors." And we did a bunch of research at the time, and I just thought that for the competition wise and everything that was out there for dental marketing companies, I was like, man, this is a spot I think I can move the needle for people. And so that's kind of how I got into it.
Gotcha. So
Yeah.
so how did you pick dentists? I mean, one of the beautiful things and something I tell other agency owners, as much as you can niche down and develop playbooks around a certain ideal customer profile, persona, avatar, whatever you want to call it. Why did dentists appeal to you eventually? I guess going from chiropractors, must have been some similarities there. Tell us a little bit more about that.
Yeah, I mean there were definitely similarities in between chiropractic and dentistry, and I just figured that my buddy Mike, I could be a source that I could rely on if I had questions and things. So I didn't want to venture too far out of that niche area. And then the thing about my original partner, and actually was my fiance, and she is still somewhat associated with the business, but she had a background in medical sales, and so that was kind of the other side of it too, where she spoke to doctors all day every day and just had kind of that inside background and lingo and things, and it's that she caught me up to speed on pretty quickly. And it's just kind of it all came together like that, right? It was just going from chiropractic to dentistry and having the inside knowledge of how doctors think and work and being able to
Mm,
talk to them and really kind of figure out what matters most to them, right? There's all these different, when you talk about marketing, there's all these different vanity metrics, right? But at the end of the day, when we talk about any kind of local business, all they really care about are the leads that are coming in, right? And for dentists, it's new patients in chairs, and that's really the bottom line. So
yeah, yeah. So can you talk about like more specifically dental or patients in chairs? That's the KPI that they're going after. But in terms of actually getting, I mean, it's highly competitive, right?
yeah, absolutely, yeah.
So when they talk about engaging with an agency or with Elevate, what is the main thing that the problem they're trying to solve, or what are the roadblocks to actually getting known as a local dentist? That's and they can actually start scaling their business and getting some patients in chairs.
You know, I think all of our clients kind of reach out because they've heard these different buzzwords, and they know a little bit about, hey, I want to surface high on Google because I know it's going to get traffic to my website, right? Or it's going to lead to new patients, is what they think. And there's different, obviously there's many different ways to do that, whether it be through ads or whether it be through SEO or whatever.
Hmm.
But they usually they have some sense of kind of what they need to be doing or what they need to do, but they just don't have the full picture. And so that's generally like the point of contact for us. And then it's it's kind of all about explaining like, yeah, like here, we do X, Y, and Z. We can get you to the top. That would be the SEO packages that we offer. We can generate leads right away through Google Ads or social media, et cetera. But all of these things really at the end of the day should be about, what your bottom line is. And your bottom line is increasing the revenues and the profits of your business, your practice. And so, we kind of just break it down then and say, if we did X, you could probably expect Y, and Y being that ROI at the end of the day for them. And so, yeah, it's kind of it's interesting that the clientele that we work with, because like I said, there's this little piece that they kind of understand or know, but they don't kind of grasp the broader picture or concepts, and so that's where we kind of fill in the blanks for them. So
Gotcha. Yeah, one of your offerings, and it's really cool. You build really cool websites. So, what percent of the time a dentist reaches out? I'm sure you start with the website, look at their web presence. What is the most common mistake you see on dentist websites as you come in and you start doing your analysis? Like, what's walk me through the first couple of steps of getting them right down on the happy path to good digital marketing.
yeah, I mean, I think some of the mistakes, when we see it, it's just that they are kind of haphazardly put together without the goal in mind of what it is, what that tool is, right? Your website is a tool for lead generation.
Right.
It's like a business card, and I think the number one mistake is that they're not put together in a manner that will be conducive for a visitor to want to take the next step, which is that contact, right? That first point of contact.
Mhm.
So that's kind of the largest one. And a lot of times we see it's like websites can be built with like a lot of like vanity around them, right? It's like the doctor or the practice, they have this one aesthetic that they're really tied to, or this one service that they really want to be known for or generate, which is good, when you and we can get into the weeds of all kind of different dental practices, right? Niches within niches. But I think that a lot of the times a website either it has none of the conversion kind of goals or tactics that we talk about, or sometimes it's a little bit too cosmetically driven. It doesn't have that. Sometimes SEO is the farthest thing from obviously we're an SEO kind of focused
Yes.
company, and it's like it's kind of all thrown together, but without any SEO foundation in mind at all. And so that's one of the biggest mistakes that we see too. And a lot of times when the clients come into us, they might have, spent all this money on a brand new website. And we look at it and we're like, it looks great, man, but we can't do anything with it. I'm sorry. We're gonna have to
Yeah.
rebuild this entire thing. So, and they're like, oh man, I just spent, five, 10, $15,000 on this thing.
Yeah.
You're
Or
telling me I got
more.
to redo it. And I'm like, man, yeah, it's just built pretty awfully. So
Yeah. There's all these things like site speed that are super important to getting noticed, and you don't have it. Yeah.
yeah,
So
exactly. Yeah. It looks good. But at the end of the day, when you really start breaking it down, it's like the guys knew that, hey, we can make a quick buck by making it look good, but it's not going to generate business at the end of the day for you. So
yeah, one thing I like about getting to know you a little bit, because people don't know we've partnered together on projects, in certain capacities. We're more SaaS oriented. You're obviously more dental, but and you're probably way better at local than we are. But one of the things I really like about your firm is you talk about results. I mean, results matter. And actually, one of the things that we do real-time dashboards. What do you do? Like, one of the biggest frustrations in our market, we get lumped in with other SEO agencies who send a very static PowerPoint and tell a story that they want to tell the client. Like, hey, impressions are way up, but I'm not going to talk about conversions or actual, you know, new paying revenue coming through the door. Like, how do you do that with the clients? How do you show results? What I'm sure you're balancing what's important to them, patients and shares, but the metrics that go above that, the canaries in the coal mine that start indicating, how we can actually move these metrics better to, like, hey, we're not there yet, but we're moving that direction. What does your dashboard for a client look like?
So yeah, I mean, like the actual reporting dashboard, we use a third party company called Agency Analytics. That kind
Hmm.
of we plug in all the API. They have all the APIs built, and then we're able to kind of build broad picture of that. So we use, obviously GA4 is plugged into the website,
Hmm.
and so we're tracking any of the conversion goals. If we're doing a lot of, let's say, advertising for them, then we'll use some kind of call tracking system as well to
Okay.
kind of track that over time. But we track rankings as well, and that's kind of like the biggest thing for us, right? Because we know that at the end of the day, the better someone ranks, the more traffic they're going to generate to their website for, obviously for the keywords too that will move the needle for them and kind of generate the most new leads and ultimately patients. So we track that over time. And then, one of the things that we're really kind of hyper focused on too is conversions. And so we want to make sure
Hmm.
that everything that we do, it has that in the back of mind. So we can get somebody to rank pretty quickly, but if it's not converting, obviously that's going to hurt them long term as well, right? Not just with their bottom line, but also within Google. So within dentistry, it's kind of like, and that's what's nice about picking a niche in general, is because we can know what works and what doesn't, and then we can apply those best practices across the board.
Do
Um,
you use tools like CallRail to actually record the calls that have come through? And just, yeah, I got to the lead, but you seem to drop the ball there at the goal line.
Yeah, you nailed it. Yeah, we use CallRail. And obviously there's a handful of call tracking softwares out there, but CallRail is the one we do use the call recording, and they're HIPAA compliant, which is another important thing for us. So we use that for call recording, and then we are able to disseminate that back to the doctors and the front offices as well. They can use that for sales training and things like that, which is just key. We transcribe those as well. So, we kind of go through the automated process because again, it's getting marketing things that will be helpful for the practices is like pulling teeth, no pun
Yeah.
intended, right? So to get their input back all the time is also tough on us. And with a tool like CallRail, we're able to, uh, record the calls, transcribe them, and then we kind of add in different things that we know, like, hey, this one was a good quality lead because it said X in that transcription, right? And then we're able to feed that back into Google Ads and other platforms to help, with lead quality as well.
What's the typical size of a dental practice that you work with? And is there even a marketing person half the time?
Usually not.
Yeah.
So again, I mean, it depends on if you're talking about like an independently owned practice, there usually is not a marketing person. Usually,
Mhm.
it's the doctor conversing with the front office manager, and that's that. If you're talking about like a DSO, which is a larger kind of private equity backed
Mhm.
company that has multiple locations, yeah, then they could have a possible marketing person or even a team, just depending on how big they are. So.
So they really rely on you as their CMO,
Yeah,
most of the
yeah,
time.
for the most part, and that's, I had a client talk to us the other day, and she's like, "You're in the relationship business. You're not really in the marketing business," because,
Yes.
she comes to us with all of those questions, and it's like, either myself or one of my colleagues, and it's, all those marketing questions that she doesn't know where to go to or turn to, or not even digital. And we're only digital. It could be anything else, and usually we're the people that they're asking about that, and they confide in us with that stuff.
Yeah, yeah. So I think dentistry, I think it would be hard to rank on some of this content. I mean, dentistry's been around a while. From an SEO perspective, we want our content to stand out. We want to build quality links. So, for you, yeah, and I would love to talk how AI has changed this for you. So, in terms of putting together content plans that are going to help these dentists rank, can you walk through a little bit of that? Maybe even how it's changed. You've been doing this for 10 years. So, like, tell me the ups and downs of that journey of creating content that ranks for
Yeah,
dentists.
man, when we first started this, we could, the only unique, I think, content I had on a website really was the homepage. So
Mm,
if you're talking about dentistry, you've got maybe about 5 to 7 services that people are actually searching on, and that's probably a stretch. It's usually
mm,
a lot less than that, right? So you're talking about 5 to 7 different pages that have the ability to bring in traffic, any relevant traffic. So when we started, it was, unique content on the homepage and then a service page that was pre-written that we just changed for each practice because
mm,
we only work with one location or one office, excuse me, per location, right? So if you took an area like Chicago, we might break it down by neighborhood. But we could have, let's say, a client in Chicago with the same service page content as a client in Oklahoma City and just change some things around slightly, and both of those would rank very well. Like it didn't matter, right? By location. Nowadays, you can't do that. And so, it all definitely has to be uniquely written. It's competitive in those areas. I mean, I'm sure I could probably find exceptions to that rule, but for the most part,
Mm,
we write everything uniquely for each of those clients. What we really try to do too is that, that 90% of the traffic that our clients receive goes to the homepage. So that's a made focus spot. And then as we're building
mhm,
out interior page content, um, we're changing that to fit the individual practice as much as possible and
mhm.
add in these little things, these little nuances and these little location tidbits that will help them that we know rank pretty well in their area. With AI, for us, it's just made things a little bit easier, I think, to gather information and disseminate it, but we always put a human spin on it. I'm
Right.
not the type of person, I don't believe in, just spinning content through ChatGPT and then taking it and copy and pasting it. That just doesn't really work out. And anytime that I've seen that or tried that or anything like that, it just doesn't. I haven't seen any good results from
It
that.
screams derivative content. It screams unoriginal, right?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, it's just and the amount of laziness that goes into a lot of that stuff too, is pretty wild. We just use it as a helpful tool, I think, and it's actually pretty crazy too when you look back at the results of some of our clients over the last, like, let's say 6 months, right? So there were big updates in October, November, and
Yep.
they kept hitting like every couple months, right? Google was launching some new kind of update, and you kind of see it in traffic and in rankings. And then at the
Yeah.
end of the day, now we're at a very comfortable spot. But for a while there, it was touch and go. And you'd look at some of the competitors and you're like, how in the heck is this guy with this
Yeah.
content all of a sudden just boosted? But then a month goes by and they're gone from existence. So it's worked itself out, I think.
Yeah.
I
We've
think we
had,
take a
yeah.
great approach too in that matter. But
Yeah. We had like, I mean, even for our own agency on the SEO side, we had stalwart keywords. We were page one. And then, like you said, for a week there, we lost 60 spots
yeah, yeah.
and lost them to very mind-boggling, other sites. But it came back. So you like to think that Google has this thing figured out, or even, what I want to get into is, Chat GPT, which is largely trained on the search engines. How are they getting noticed? So do your clients worry about actually getting recommended or having impressions on the search models themselves? Kind of staying within the AI theme here.
Um, I don't know. Explain what you mean by that.
Well, so like what we talk about here at SureOak a lot, there's keywords, and that's for
Mhm.
the search engines. But in AI, we now use key conversations. It
Okay.
doesn't really just start with a keyword like dentist near me. It's like, what do I do with a sore tooth? Oh, it could be an abscess. What do I do for an abscess? Is there a dentist near me that is really good with abscess?
Mhm. Yeah.
uh, does your client, I mean, in the SaaS world, they're freaking out about it, but like in your world, are you having those conversations about how am I getting noticed on Chat GPT and Grok and,
Yeah,
for,
not as much. I don't think that like it's local hasn't infiltrated that market, I think, as much, right?
Mhm.
That could very well change. I mean, that's something that we'll have to focus on a lot more. I think the way that we build out our content, I think it sends all the right signals to any kind of search platform you're going to use. And we do a lot of blog posts each month for our clients as well to try to. So let's say if you broke it down like that, like an abscess thing, that could be the topic of a blog post that we're really
Mm,
kind of optimizing around for specific questions, Q and A's, etc. Um, but the overall page of, let's say, like maybe like a root canal might be relevant to that topic. We're not going to maybe create long form content on that specific service page. We're going to keep it to more of the generalized stuff that we know will hit the keywords like, root canal searches, root canal dentist near me, that kind of thing. And then we'll take the Q and A's a step further, usually at the blog post, and give those a chance to surface as well. So it hasn't really hit us quite, I think, in the same way that maybe like a SaaS company might be, really
right.
worried about it. Because I guess if you talk about SaaS too, right, it's like ChatGPT is there to fill in all these gaps that you used to waste
Yes.
hours Googling, searching, going back and
Yeah.
forth between results, and it's just right there to the blink of an eye. And that local is not quite the same, I think. So
Yeah, well, we'll stay with local, and then I want to get into how to allocate budget across the omni channel, I guess we'll call it. But within local, like, do you have like two or three just best practices hints for people like, we do some of it, but most of our clients, zip code does not matter. But for you, this is really important. So like in terms of like, hey, I need to you get my local presence. I want to get into the box. Is there a particular strategy, two or three hints you could kind of give the audience?
Yeah, I mean, well, obviously completeness, that would be
Hmm.
the first one, right? Just making
On
sure that
Google
you're,
Business Profile.
yeah, just completing that. Using another third party tool to build the directories. I don't think they're as kind of necessary. Maybe just take the top. If you don't have a lot of time, you don't have a lot of budget.
Right.
Maybe take the top five that are really like just Google, Apple, Bing, those for sure. Yelp,
Mm,
and then kind of expand from there, just depending on your niche. So I would go with that first. I would make sure that you're consistently uploading photos and videos, anything like that, to your Google Business Profile. And then do it on all those other sources I just mentioned too, right? And then making sure, obviously, that your NAP is consistent, name, address,
hmm.
telephone number is consistent across those. I would be active on it. I would post on it, and I would make sure that categorically, what your business represents is represented in your Google Business Profile.
Mm.
And then I would just be active in responding to collecting reviews. Huge, right? We know
Yeah, I
that.
want to ask about that. That's a toughie for, I don't know. It's easy, but it's so hard for people to get right.
Yeah, yeah. And I can get into exactly what we use, and then replying to those reviews as well.
Mm.
So right now, currently, we're partnered with a company called Bird Eye. I'm sure you've heard of them.
Yeah, sure. Great.
Yeah. And so it's nice because they can tap into the patient management software for dental offices, and then, set that up automatically to do emails and text messages. After, at the end of the day, it'll reach into their patient management software, pull the database of patients they've seen, and then send them, that solicitation. So that way they can keep a good steady stream of reviews. And then it also can automate part of the replies to those reviews as well through the system. And so,
That's
um,
great. Is there a balance between like Yelp reviews versus Google reviews? I think that's constantly, well, I can't ask the same customer to do reviews on three sites. Like there's definitely survey fatigue out there.
Yeah, I mean, I think all are important. I think Yelp reviews are just as important, but getting them is a lot harder, right? Whereas Google is kind of open about, you can ask, we want to see, reviews flowing into your Google Business Profile. Yelp is a lot more protected, and they won't let you automate that process.
Mm,
And not to badmouth Yelp, but I think it's just that they want the advertising dollar. It's when a company signs
yep.
up for X, Y, or Z, they want to keep it in house and be able to charge for it. So
Yeah, super interesting. Okay,
yeah.
so you come in and you got to figure out the mix between PPC and SEO. Do you have some rules of the road to go by in terms of allocating budget? So like I got $10,000 a month, $2,000 a month, whatever it is. How do you decide how much should be going to Google ads or any like Yelp ads, or do you have a rule of thumb to actually, decide how this budget should be allocated for leads?
Yeah, I would say like marketing budget specifically on
Yeah.
like quick lead gen, and not counting SEO, right? So I would say probably 70-30 or 80-20 Google to, like, say, like social media.
Mm,
Yelp, if you've got extra, yeah, absolutely. I think there's some things you can do on Yelp that'll help with lead gen as well. And people seem to trust Yelp as a platform. But
hmm.
the reason I still say Google, man, it's like you can just get past that barrier of generating a demand versus the demand already being there, right? So it's like
Yes.
with Google, 90% of your work's already done because somebody has the need for dentist. They go onto Google and they search dentist near me or dentist in San Diego, whatever the case may be. The intent is already there, right? All you need to do is
Mm,
get in front of them with the right message at the right time and send them to a good quality landing page, and that's 90% of the battle right there, right? Versus social, where it's like you're still going out there and trying to get in front of the right people. They may or may not be interested in the product. What's the messaging going to be? All that stuff. And so and when we've compared it too, and this is like not just our own data, but like other third parties that are just like social ads only, and they come to us and we're like, yeah, we were able to generate, Google ads leads at X. And I'm like, well, like we're worth like 3 times that on social. Like, how did you do that? Whatever. But, and Google's had some changes. I don't want to say that, we're like, just like, Google ads platform is God or king, right? It's like there's been a lot of changes on the Google Ads
Yeah.
platform lately that have made it harder on advertisers. But
Yeah, I mean, it went from 2 ads up top to like 4 sometimes, and they're in the middle. It depends on the product, but like it's a lot of ads and it's hard to find the organic. So if a client gets what, top 5 organically, do you start weaning back the paid ads on Google? Or do you have like thoughts on that? Or is it really
so,
context dependent?
yeah, this I always say this comes back to kind of my old agency days, and that we would have like Google reps, right, that would talk you through all the new betas for Google Ads, and they're loved them, but the end goal is just to get you to spend more money, right?
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
they would say, they would always say, well, we've done these new studies, and we've noticed that if your brand, is represented in the ads at the top and the organic below it, this is not local, right? So just
Right.
national clients, let's say, they're like, your brand lift goes up by X amount percentage, right? People are viewing your brand more positively, or you're the thought leader in the industry. And so I've always had it. If you have a marketing budget in mind that you're willing to part with each month and it's returning a good ROI, right?
Mhm.
You're getting something for your investment. I would just keep it there, man. I wouldn't scale back if you're owning the top spot in Google, and especially with local, if you're owning the top spot in Google and you have a top spot in the maps and you have that spot in ads, I would say go with it, man. Don't change it.
Yeah. That's
Yeah.
practical advice. That's very, very practical advice. So,
Yeah, I mean, it's like
uh,
it's favorable, right? Everyone's gonna look at this guy and say, "Oh man, like this guy's everywhere on Google. He must be the best in the area, right?" That's
right,
why.
right. Yeah, that's really, really good. So,
Yeah.
all right. So, give us your best tip for the dentist that's hesitant to actually dive in and part with some marketing dollars. Uh, you know, Maybe walk through how you actually, get them excited about digital marketing, and what's your best tip to those thinking about it?
Yeah, I mean, again, it comes down to learning more about their practice. So the individual dentist, you can be a practicing dentist. Generally, you get out of school, you become an associate, right? And so you work under somebody else, and then you get the lay of the land, how to run a business. And that's the thing is like dentists don't take very many business classes or marketing classes, right? They're in school to be a doctor. And so when they get out, they're like, man, I have no idea how to run a business. What am I doing? And so generally they'll go in and they'll learn from another doctor. And then they may or may not go out on their own completely, or they'll buy an existing practice. So they're buying that book of business, right? So it's
Mm,
either like a retiring dentist would be the perfect scenario where
right.
he's run a great practice and then he's getting, he's going to sell it to the next dentist that's going to come in and run that again. So it's really kind of just getting to know what's happening. If a dentist is maybe, let's say, an associate, and they're like, I want to go out and I want to start my own practice, but I have no book of business other than maybe like 30 patients that are loyal to me and want to come with me, or whatever that number is. But it's like I need to market and I need you to generate me leads as quickly as possible. Then we say, okay, well let's look at this realistically. What's your new patient goal? Is your new patient goal 30 new patients, 60 new patients, 100 new patients or more? What is the market and the area that you're located in? Does it have enough to be able to do that? Right? If you took a population of, let's say,
Yep.
100,000, you could probably maybe rely, this are arbitrary numbers, but maybe 10% of that population might be looking for a new dentist. So start to dwindle those numbers down to what's actually realistic, right?
Hmm.
So how often do you want to be in the number one spot vying for, dentist near me or dentist in San Diego or wherever? How often do you want to be there, and how much do you want to spend on that in order to generate 30 new leads, 50 new leads, 100 new, patients? Actually, I shouldn't even say leads, because the
Right.
amount of close rate, right? So then you talk about that. So if I have 100 new leads that I've generated for you and your close rate is 60%, which is usually a decent number, but that's 60 new patients out of 100 leads that we've generated. So you kind of just have to
It's
break
just
the numbers down and start working with it that way. And
it's
then
just math.
obviously SEO is the long game, right? You're not going to be able to get
Yeah.
somebody to rank at the top right away. So
No, then that's I still get asked by big firms. I still get asked, how long is this going to take?
yep, that's the number one question that we get. How long is SEO going to take? And
Yeah.
you know,
So,
I,
well,
I
all I
used
know is long run, it's got a very high ROI, but like I don't know what Google's going to do. It's going to take 1 month to index and crawl and rank your. It's a process. It's a process.
yeah. How long? What's your answer usually? What do you say?
Yeah, we say it's a long game. I mean, we literally say that, and we look at keyword difficulty, and we look at competitors, and if it's new, like you, at least if it's dental and it's highly competitive, there's not a lot of new to say. If I can come up with something new, like we can rank without tons of backlinks or getting other sites to review for us, or but if the content's new, like take our example. We started writing about our new service in AI SEO, right? So it was new enough that we were ranking top of the page for a term that's relatively new on the internet, AI SO. There's just not a lot out there. I think there's a manufacturing company called AISO. We're not going to displace them, but we got number 2 on the organic. But that's more of an exception these days. I just think it's very, very hard. I think we show industry data around the long game, 10x ROI, even if you're getting 3x ROI on your paid ads. Like organic is powerful, very, very powerful. And the click-through rate on the top 5 SERPs is still powerful. If you can get AI to recommend you, which is largely based on lots and lots of SEO work, lots and lots of content. AI is just picking you up and recommending you as well. So, I mean, those are very qualified leads and usually highly engaged leads versus PPC where I hate to say it, but sometimes they're tire kicking, because
Yeah.
they got they got enticed to click an ad and maybe they don't want to convert. Maybe they're not really as serious as they could be.
Yeah, I mean, we for the time it takes and what I actually say, and again, that depends on, are you starting with a brand new domain or are you starting with an existing domain
Yep.
as well, right? That's, for whatever reason, like in our industry, in our vertical, if it's a really, unless you're in the middle of nowhere, right? If you're in a town of, let's say 30,000 or less, it's a little bit quicker, a little bit
Yeah.
easier. If you're in a, in Chicago, for instance, and you're vying for like, one of the top neighborhood, local geographic keyword sets, and you're starting with a brand new domain at a year, it's going to take you a year to get you to the top. It's just the way that it is. And it's been that way. I think, we've been doing this for 8 or 9 years now, and it's always just been that way. I say, give it a
Mm,
year, right? If I
give
can
it a
get you to the
year.
top in a year, then yeah, there's maybe a time to reevaluate it for that point. But I've seen it take as little as 6 months, but yeah, brand new domains, it's a long game.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
And people underinvest in it, unfortunately,
Yeah, absolutely.
because I mean, writing's expensive, blogging consistently, doing videos now is so important to SEO and engagement on pages. So to get your bounce rate down, I mean,
There's a
it's
lot
an
that goes
investment.
into it, right? And
Yeah.
that's the hardest part is having somebody like, "Oh, man, what am I paying you for?" And it's like, well, all those things you just mentioned, right? It's the investment in, we have to have somebody writing content. We have to have somebody who is at least well-versed in like UX, UI, right? Because
Yes.
at the end of the day, we can generate traffic, but if it's not converting, it's not gonna last, especially for SEO
Right.
results. So we've got to get, there's all these different multitudes of things that go in there. It's design, it's development, it's content, it's link building strategies,
Back
and
end.
yeah.
Yeah. It's back end is technical. Are your
Yeah.
headers right? Is your metadata good? I mean, it's not just anyone that can look under the hood and make this thing sing. I mean, people talk about us being replaced by AI and like, yeah, AI can prescriptively tell you generally what's wrong, but someone to actually think about what's going on in the mind of the consumer and how this is going to work and what Google's going to consider. I'm writing for the robot and I'm writing for the human. I mean, there's a lot that goes into it, like you said.
Yeah, it's, think about it. It's like AI is like the computer software diagnosis when you take your car into the shop,
Right.
right? The mechanic doesn't have to rebuild your engine every time you go in there. It runs a computer diagnosis on it, and then it spits out that 3 things could be wrong, and then you kind of have to have a manual review of, say, okay, like I checked this, it's good. I checked that, it's good. Oh, it's this one faulty thing we've got to replace, right? It's kind of like, to me,
Yeah, and
AI.
there's some things that aren't a big deal. Yeah, yeah, he's right, right. So what is the biggest joy for you running your agency? Tell me, what maybe the day in the life, or what do you? I'm sure it's been a fun journey. You wouldn't keep doing it, but what do you like about it?
I derive the most pleasure out of the results, right?
Yep.
So it's tough, I think, when you're an agency owner, because if you're the right kind of agency owner, um, you personalize the results for the clients, right? You've built these relationships. They come on and they say, "I'm looking to build my practice. How can you help me?" And like you sell them on X, Y, and Z. And when it doesn't happen, you're like, "Oh man, I'm so distraught and I'm so disheartened. I'm going to stay on this until I get it right. And then when it
Right.
happens and it does, and you're just like, man, that was awesome, right? And I made that happen. For me personally, I made it happen for myself. We started this agency about 8 years ago, and then yeah, we've grown, and so it's nice to be able to bring others along in that journey and have them, kind of the same thing, right? It's like some of the work we do is monotonous, but man, the results are kind of what you keep you coming back. So
God, I love that. I mean, we've had strategists, like we've hired great technical strategists here at Sure Oak. Um, but when the results don't quite come in and they're, because we do real-time dashboards with clients, and like sometimes the results aren't there. Like we tried this and it wasn't there. And and I just noticed the difference between a really good strategist, one that isn't, is the one like you just said, is the person that has the abilities, like, this is what I'm seeing, this is the next step forward, what I think is going to happen. I'm obviously apologetic that didn't work, but like that strategy was sound based on what we knew. But like, here's some new data, and yeah, the results aren't there, but that's new data, and there's something now that we can build on. And the
Mhm.
person that is able to do that, and that positivity and that ability to communicate bad news to a client and talk through what the next strategy is going to be, I mean, that is it changes your life as an agency owner to have people that are able to have that mentality, and you modeling that for your team, I'm sure, is powerful.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. That's yeah, I'm just thinking back over all the SEO jobs that I had in the past and what kind of led to this, right? And that was like, I think when you are in and I don't know what the scope of the clients that you work with, but when you start to talk about like very large Fortune 500 clients and you're doing all these things, the rewards sometimes aren't there because they're not recognized or whatever, right? And like it's like now that we're in this small local niche, it's like the rewards are very recognized.
Yeah.
It's like somebody says, yeah, like my practice revenue went from 800,000 to 3 million in 2 years, right? Like that's, and you're like, oh yeah, like we did that. Yeah, that's
That's
cool.
awesome.
Yeah.
I mean, that changes someone's life. They bought a new house or they got married. I mean, like, that's got to be really rewarding to partner with people on in
Yeah.
life like that. That is
Yeah.
really, really
Absolutely.
cool.
Yeah.
Cool. And what's the biggest challenge of being an agency owner?
Again, taking everything really personally, right? Like you're like, oh
Yeah.
man, if this didn't work out, and everyone's looking to you for the answers. It's like, oh man, I'm gonna have to take some time to dig into this one and figure out what I think the answer is, right? So it's like that responsibility is that's the
Yeah.
toughest part. Yeah. And it's
Yeah.
not just like
Yeah.
the response, at the end of the day, you've got payroll and all those things to hit, whatever. It's like
Sure.
that's the easy part. It's like the
Yeah.
responsibility of the actual work being done is I think is the hardest part.
I love that. I love that. Yeah. There are some sleepless nights
Yeah, for
thinking
sure. And
about.
obviously, as an agency owner too, you want to get everyone to a point where you don't have to be involved. That's also the hardest part, man. It's like
Right.
going from like zero book of business and nothing to, maybe where you're at, where you're climbing over this next hump where it's like, who's the next hire? Uh,
Mm,
how do I get this thing to run on its own where I don't have to be involved every day? And if and
mm.
that kind of thing too. That's one of the harder challenges I think of starting an agency.
Yeah, yeah, you had those, smaller clients, they're so used to working with Cody, and then all of a sudden you're introducing a new face, and "Where's Cody?"
Yeah, you just
Co
just slowly do it, and you're like, "Hey, I'm here if you need me." And then next
Yeah,
thing you know, they've got a relationship going, and it's great. So
yeah, and as long as that person's good, usually it goes flawlessly, but
yeah,
every now and
yeah,
then they don't make the bed the way Cody does. They don't they don't care
yeah,
the way Cody does.
and like trying to find and select talent and hire the right talent is the hardest part, right? It's like
Yeah,
I personality wise, they have to be the right fit, and I think they have to have all those things that we just those traits that we just went through that we just discussed. And then those people are the ones that I'd want and rather would train them on X, Y, and Z, right? It's like when you talk about SEO, like you can, as long as you're instilling the right best practices, and those are changing over time too. But
sure.
that's the teachable part. It's kind of like these like intangible parts that are the harder part to find. And so it's like matching up the people with where you think they would work well within your
Yeah.
systems.
What's your non-negotiable value at Elevate, or even Cody's personal, company value, work value, whatever that is?
Oh man, it's I don't like to take shortcuts.
Yeah,
And I think that's a part of the nature of this business, right? Like we use, eh, and that kind of sounds weird, right? Because we're using AI as like all these different shortcut tools. But at the end of the day, it's still it's still humanistic. And for us, like being in dentistry and in healthcare, like that's like, you know, when you start to talk about like, if you're doing local SEO for like a painting business, that's far
Mm,
different, right? It's not healthcare, right? It's not like somebody's mouth or their fears and anxiety, because a lot of people have that about the dentist, about dentists. And so it's like there's
mm,
this really personal part, and I think that that kind of plays into what we do. And so I think it's always to think about human beings and be personal, and that's like whether it
yeah.
be on the practice level, whether it be on the relationship level, or whether it be on the SEO level, right? It's just all about people and human beings and relationships.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're business owners and you're a business owner, so you're going to treat their hard-earned dollars. That was like $2,000 a month, let's say. That was, that's 10 patients, right? Cody,
Yep.
can I trust you with 10 patients? And are you going to actually treat this money the way that I would treat it? I think that's powerful. No shortcuts, and treat it like an
Yeah,
owner.
yeah, just human beings, right? We just
Yeah, human beings.
the end of the day, the internet's for human beings. So it's like we might
It might
just
be
make it.
robots talking to robots, but at the end of the day, a human's going to read it and make the
Yeah,
decision.
the intended audience is you or I using the internet, using Google or whatever. So it's about human beings. It's not about
No.
AIs having conversations back and forth, right?
I love it. Love it. Cody, I know you've given me more than enough time. I so appreciate you doing this. How can people find you?
ElevateDDS.com. You can go there and don't judge us, but it's like, again, I think the old saying, the cobbler's kids wear no shoes, right?
Yeah.
We've been so invested in building our client websites, and I think we've got a really great portfolio, and I'm happy to share those. I don't think a lot of them have been uploaded to the website because we haven't touched it in a little bit of time, but soon we'll have a new website. We're working on that internally in development as well. So, but for now, you can definitely go to elevatedds.com.
Well, you're a website maker, so I know you're critical of it, but I think it's just fine. And you guys are doing great work, and I really appreciate you being a partner with SureOak and coming on the cast and telling your story. Really, really grateful. Thank you.
Oh yeah, thanks for having me, man. I really appreciate it, and I appreciate the work that you guys do and have done for us. It's pretty awesome. So,
Thank you, sir.
yep, thanks, man.